she wanted to, so he just went ahead.
September 18th, it's the DEI Advisory Committee. We're going to start with attendance. We'll go around and see who's here. Rob, we'll start with you.
Rob Mezzanotte, Assistant Superintendent.
Shivali Finkelstein. Erin Earl, School Committee Chair.
Jennifer Lima, School Committee Member.
Mary Lowe Preston, Parent Advocate.
William Mosh, Jr. at NK High School.
Jacqueline Lawler, Teacher.
Okay, awesome. So, did everybody have a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting, which was on August 21st?
We did.
Okay, can I get a motion?
A motion to approve the minutes?
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so I wanted, before we've spent a lot of time on the equity vision statement the past couple times, before we dive into that, I just wanted to go over something else so we don't get like sucked into that and not move any forward. The first thing I just wanted to confirm was the calendar for the 2024-2025 school year. We have historically been meeting the third Wednesday of every month at 5:30. If nobody has any objections, I'd like to continue with that. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I would just note is we have 7 here today, but there's members that aren't here.
Right.
And so just maybe confirming that they aren't chronically able to not come on Wednesdays. Like if it's just today, that's fine, but like if it's like a consistent problem, that just might be something to know. If that is going to be our consistent date that we meet.
I'll confirm with them before we make that official.
Like, but it's fine, but just like the ones here are obviously here, so.
Okay, and then we have, Rob, do you want to give an update on the equity belonging coordinator position?
Sure. So we have we've identified we've hired a person. So we're really happy about that. Yep. We're excited to get her on board. She will be, I wasn't personally in touch with her about the appointment, but from Dr. Duva, she is starting, I believe, next month, is what she had to give notice to her previous employment. So yeah, we're excited to bring her on board. She interviewed very well. Expressed a lot of enthusiasm for the work, and I look forward to her joining our team here, and also joining our team, in all our schools.
Can you talk a little bit about what the position is?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's equity, belonging, and yes, community engagement.
Yep.
Community engagement coordinator. So the position really is a position. It's a unique position. And it's a position that really is intended to really have a very close focus on making sure that the concepts of equity and wellness and community engagement are woven into the work that we do. It really should serve as the, like the basis for a lot of what we do. It shouldn't just be another add-on thing. That's the idea of really being truly equitable. And so this position will allow us to, when planning professional development, when planning, school initiatives, district initiatives, so on and so forth, it allows us to really make sure that we are centering the margins when it comes to that work, and that we're making sure that we are paying mind to the practices that we know are best and most useful when it comes to achieving equitable outcomes. I guess the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
And so really that's what it is. It's just elevating that role, right, and that concept into the conversations that we're having. And we're looking forward to it. It's exciting. It's new, and it's different. It's new. It's something that is we're kind of it's a new direction, but it's a good thing, and we're excited to have another person on board to bring focus to that work.
Yeah, just to add a couple things to that, the title is Equity, Title IX, and Wellness, just for clarity. I know that's a
I know we went through a few iterations.
I just looked up the job description because I couldn't remember either. And it is interesting position because it is in the area of human resources, which is important. In addition to all the things that Rob was talking about,
One of the things that they'll do is coordinate and monitor the district's compliance with Title IX, which is important because currently we outsource that. And so having somebody in-house is helpful for a lot of reasons, one being budgetarily, but also being able to have someone be able to work through those in the HR office, but then also hearing a need from the staff, especially regarding wellness and the support that they need there. They also serve as the lead administrative liaison with the staff wellness committee, being able to have somebody focused and helping with that committee that formed, and I believe is led by Lisa Garcia and yeah. So it's a combination of a lot of different things, but I think to Rob's point, it was definitely based on need from the district and kind of put together with that thought in mind, but all underneath that umbrella of human resources and how we can support the folks that are in this district. So it's very cool that you all hired somebody.
Yep, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, anybody have any questions, comments about that?
Right.
No, I'm excited. Thank
Yep.
you all for your patience and persistence in getting that position filled.
Will that person be on this committee?
Yeah. It's our hope.
That would be up to the administration.
Yeah.
Just ask.
Yeah,
That would make
yeah.
Makes sense,
logistical
right?
sense, you would imagine, but that decision would definitely be different to
Yep.
Ken and Rob.
So the other thing I guess probably makes sense to go into next is an update on the equity focused PD, like we talked about at the last school committee meeting.
Sure. So we are planning equity-focused professional development for teachers. Right now, we have a couple of things that we are looking into. One being, we are looking to draft an RFP to work with a consulting group that specializes in equity-focused professional development, specifically in the area of culturally responsive practices. And we're looking to put together some language around that to allow this to do some really good work with a core group of people that are representative of some of our educators across the district. And the hope is that that team will kind of serve as the ground level work of this that will then be like kind of farmed out more broadly through professional development, through you know, designated meeting times that we have, faculty meeting times, common planning time, things of that nature. But the hope is that we're going to build a team of experts within our district to really be like the lead. And they're going to be trained through a group that has obviously a lot of background and expertise in the area. And then that way we're kind of hopefully building the resources within to continue to grow and to improve in this area, and not always have to rely on outside people coming in, because we know that that sometimes is less effective, you know. So if we can kind of build that from within and hopefully raise the level, we'll see more. We'll see it stick more, you know, with the practices that we know again serve our students best. And we're also looking at, again, having discussions about, and this is sort of in consultation with the temporary discipline committee group's work, is looking at exploring professional learning with teachers around you know, consistent and effective responsive practices to student discipline, and how we can make sure that we are, you know, consistently responding to students who are presenting with behavioral challenges, that we're doing so in ways that are effective, in ways that are you know, like directly targeted to the student's behavior, and that bring just implement the proper practices. There's a lot of research around this. There's a lot of research on how to effectively deal with student disruptions and how not to. And right now, I think we have some great practices going on, but it would be even better, I think, if we had the consistency embedded through some professional learning activities. So we're looking at that. You know, another group I'll just point to that Shivali and I have been a part of the last couple of days is we've been partnering with neighboring districts to look at just best practice instructionally, instructional practices. And so we have a team of NK teachers, team of teachers from Narragansett, Exeter, West Greenwich, all meeting together to do research-based best practices. And there's a lot of equity-based learning embedded in those practices. A lot of strategies as teachers to make sure that we are you know, lifting up all students, that we are tapping into the abilities of all students, that we're getting students to like draw knowledge from the group in ways that really promote equity of voice in the classroom and things of that nature. And you know, we've had some really good PD the last 2 days with that. There's really been some good modeling of these types of practices, and it's nice because it really speaks to it as just a practice that we do and not some other thing that we have to do, but rather it's something that's really deeply embedded in the practice that we do, where it's just, we're used to making sure that like every student brings value, every student has voice, every student has abilities, and we're going to tap into those abilities. And so we're excited about that. It's really going well.
What's that model called, or what's the?
So the name of the group that we are working towards, working through, is called Profession. It was.
I can put it actually.
Yeah, pull it up, please.
It's great.
It's professional. Can you look it up real quick? So the strategies we're looking at are about centering student voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's about centering student, like the student experience, and using, you know.
It's PEL Collaborative Networks, which is the Thinking Classrooms Network.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you say thinking classroom?
Thinking Classroom, yep.
Network.
Thanks.
Yep. Partners for Educational Leadership. That's it. Partners for Educational
That's the
Leadership is the name of the group that we went through. Yep. And the title of the training was Equitable, Adaptive Instruction and Continuous Improvement.
And so is the thought there like that will come back to the district and spread out everywhere within the district?
Yeah. So we have a team now that's going to be going through this training, and that we will be practicing it. We're going to talk about how that actually comes to form, but we're going to be practicing it within our schools.
That's great.
Could be by visiting classrooms, observing practice, having conversations, having discussions about what we see and what, and really trying to bring to the surface those best practices.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions, comments on that?
So Rob or Shivali, whoever would like to answer, do you have a sense of buy-in from faculty in terms of, is this just, another PD that we have to do, or are they really embracing this initiative?
So today was day 2, and today was, we really got into heart of it, and they did little role playing and put teachers in a position where what would the discussions and feedback look like, because that is the hard part about that, when you're actually looking at your data and looking at the disparities and looking at achievement. That part was really powerful because they had the ability to kind of just live through that situation, so there was a lot of discomfort, but at the end of that they felt really good because they learned about how that environment was safe and how they can safely receive and give feedback. So it is something that we can see in the long run do really good, but it's very gradual. And teachers really need to go through the training, experience it. They have to feel safe in that practice for it to really happen. So we started with the math department, administrators. There were 3 other school districts there, so they really started to talk to each other about their classrooms. So it's just a long term. We have to continue to work through that.
And we talked about a few things that really stuck with people in some of the discussions we had. You know, we did a really interesting reading on the impact of teacher expectations for students. And so we had a really good reading about that, really good discussion around that, about how, you know, like the more we as professionals practice and make obvious the level of expectations we have for our kids, no matter, you know, the student's background, or no matter the different, you know, circumstances that we may have bias towards, to keep those expectations at a high level has an enormous impact on you know, student achievement, and also just, you know, student well-being and mental health is number one. And then secondly, we talked about the change process, you know, and we talked about like the importance of, from a leadership standpoint, the importance of making sure that teachers feel that they can trust you, that they feel supported, and that they feel like the change is something that is within their capabilities to do, and they're gonna be trusted to fall down and make mistakes and learn from them, and not be punished for them. And also that they're going to be, you know, not only it's something that they're capable of doing, but that they see that the change will bring positive results, that there will be improved practice from the change. And so it's really on us as leaders, we talk about this, to make sure that we make that very clear in our communications to teachers, that this is a process that we're in together. It's not something we're pushing to you and walking away. And also it's something that we really believe in, that these practices that we implement, you're going to see your experience be better with kids. You're gonna see your classroom experience be better. The classroom culture is going to be better because you're gonna lift and elevate the positivity within everybody in the class. Hard to do, and it takes time, and we recognize that. But it's great to see some, you know, we had a good number of teachers who volunteered to join, and we've had some really good discussions. Mm-hmm.
That's good. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of ties back to one of the things that I wanted to go over was, just kind of circling back to what the, like the priority recommendations were from the equity audit in the beginning, and like what we've accomplished and what we haven't from that. Rob, can you pull it up on the,
From the website?
yeah.
Sure.
Do you want the equity audit, or do you want that doc?
No, first the equity
Yeah.
audit.
Do you?
The final report, yeah.
Final report, okay.
Yeah. And then, go to the priority recommendations one. I think it's at the very beginning.
At the very beginning, okay.
Yeah.
Was there a separate link for the priority
No,
recommendations?
I think, there might have been, but you're almost there, I think.
Okay. Here it
Okay,
is.
there you are. So these were what PCG had determined based on like all the recommendations that they gave us as the number one like priorities. So, you know, we're working on the equity vision statement, and as part of that, you know, we will be engaging the stakeholders, and we will be publicizing the vision. And I think we will need to create an equity communication plan. So that is in process. So I feel like we're working on that.
Mm-hmm.
The next one was to develop a district-wide equity policy. That one is not in process currently, but that was something that they had identified. The other thing was the equity-focused professional development, to prioritize that. So we got a little bit of an update on that. That was something that PCG had really stressed was necessary. And I think we've heard that from staff. And I think, you know, we had, out of this committee, we had made a recommendation that, you know, that we kind of really wanted to push one, and we had one in April, and now I think we've kind of started. So that's just something I think we want to keep in the forefront, that it's working, but just to keep that in the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
The discipline policies and practices, that has actually become its own separate advisory committee at this point from that. So that is something that is in process in a separate advisory committee. And then what was the fifth one? That was it.
Mm-hmm.
So those were like the main priorities, and something that the group had done was they took like the 100+ like actual recommendations. Rob, I'm sharing, I just beat you in the file.
Okay.
And the group had kind of gone through, and we had like matrixed it and scored it, and we had kind of come up with what the group had thought was like our top 5 of the things that needed to be done, and we had rated it on like top 5 in terms of impact, top 5 in terms of resources, and just like a top 5 general. Can you pull that one up? I just,
You shared it with
I
me?
shared it with you. So if you go to the top 5. So the top 5 things that this group had identified were to increase opportunities for student voice, and I think we've been working on that for sure. Create the equity vision statement, discipline data, and the equity communication plan. So those things I think are like in process currently. Top 5 in terms of impact are basically the same things between that and between the ones that PCG had recommended. And then the top 5 in terms of, you know, resources, the only thing that was on there that we haven't touched on and what we just talked about were reviewing academic support offerings outside of classroom instruction time and, you know, access to advanced courses. Like there was some
I have something on that.
okay.
All right. I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
though.
no, that's
You
perfect.
sure?
I got
Yeah.
really
All right.
excited.
Yeah, sorry. So yes, we are part of a cohort group to examine access to advanced coursework
Okay.
in our high school students, which of course starts at the middle school level. You know what I mean in terms of the you know the offerings we have there. So we're part of a group through the Department of Ed, and they're and we're going to be studying the basically we're going to be looking at
Mass Insight is gonna help.
Mass Insight. Yep, they're gonna be working with us to basically problem solve around the idea of getting more access to advanced coursework from some of our marginalized groups. So we have a meeting coming up with them, correct?
We do. One of the things we looked at the data, and Wright indicated the same thing, was that we had a really increased access to AP for our high school students. But when you look at the populations, it was not
Mhm.
there.
Not proportional.
So that's what we're trying to target, based on that, which is why I think you're saying this is aligning here.
Yeah.
Because it's specific to the underserved populations and why they're not accessing it. What can we do? How do we kind of getting into the root cause of what the problems are and then trying to eliminate the barriers.
Okay, that's great.
So I think it really fits in
And one
with
thing,
what-
we had conversations around this with, and I brought this up because I agree with the AP piece, but I also think that AP is a little too narrow. In personally, my feeling on it is because AP is great and we definitely needs to be part of it, but we also offer
Yeah.
you know, early enrollment classes. We offer career dual enrollment classes, career tech classes, and we could be better in all those areas.
And
you know?
honors too.
And honors, yeah.
Right.
So really, it's we're going to try to look at it more comprehensively. It's just access to classes that are geared towards post-secondary success.
And I would also ask that we look at it in the inverse and look at our Success Academy demographics, and is that too disproportional as well?
Yep.
So if we could add that to it also.
Yep.
That,
I mean, we can do that as part of the work we're talking
Yes,
about.
yep.
It's not quite that, but we can do that as well.
yeah.
And one of the things I just wanna mention, because you brought it up, is with our new special ed director, we did kind of look at that, and our numbers have drastically decreased because she's cleaned up the criteria of what criteria was used to determine, so that has drastically, so it's now really academic, so almost like a IEP testing. It's not the same level, but they're using a process to say that there are clearly low achievement standards or certain things that fall in the criteria. Only then they have the eligibility to be
Yeah.
in the program, and then we
We-
have met with the parents to let them know that this is not a regular ed setting, and are you approving of
Okay.
the student to be in there? So our numbers kind of went from what they were to have
Okay,
the
good.
size,
Okay.
which is
That's
exciting.
good. Okay.
So are you saying, just to clarify, when you say, are you talking about the total number of students
Yeah,
on IEPs?
total student in the program. in the
Which program, Shivali?
Success Academy.
Oh, Success
program.
Academy specifically, not in district-wide.
Not district-wide,
I'm
no.
not sure I know much.
Success Academy
Yeah.
is outside of like the normal like career college track, and it's more for, how would you explain it?
So it's for students that are significantly below, their academic level. So that, we used, that was the only criteria. There was a bunch of other tests and other cognitive tests that were missing to be part of the criteria, so that has been added. So now the numbers in the academy have gone down. So a lot of the students that are not eligible for that are going into regular ed classrooms with more support. So we just kind of diverted the support to those areas.
And is this K through 12 or just the high school?
I'm just talking about the high school.
Just the high school,
Just
okay.
high school.
What am I kind of bring that kind of along that same wavelength in this conversations that you're having with what's the group? Mass Insight,
Mass
or is
Insight,
it, yeah,
Does that stand for Massachusetts? Mass, or just like Mass?
it's a great question.
I'm not sure where they are based off of, but
So,
they
okay,
are.
just wondering like what is.
They work with RIDE.
Yeah, they're worth,
Okay.
I bet it's not Massachusetts then.
I was just wondering.
But maybe
if
it's
you
not.
were-
Let's see,
They're-
we'll
they
they're
could,
in
Ride
Massachusetts.
likes Massachusetts.
They're in
so-
Boston.
I know, a little
They
too
do
much, I
like-
think.
They do.
It is located in Boston.
Well, that'll tell you something, write that down.
Okay, I don't know, it might stand for the Massachusetts, okay. But it is a nonprofit organization that partners with
Mhm.
the state. So it's not like the it's not like the mass version of RIDE. I guess my question would be, in those conversations, are you looking backwards at like, cause a lot of the research predicts that like, it's 5th grade and up, kind of that sets that trajectory, so I imagine that's part of the conversation,
Yes.
kind of what's happening in 5th grade, what's happening in middle school.
That's exactly
Cause
what they
like,
said.
yeah, cause it's the
Mhm.
tracking that is really the biggest challenge, and also the bias that can be put in,
Mhm.
which students get into which courses, like school counselors
Mhm.
and curriculum and stuff like that. A lot
Mhm.
of that has they found like quantifiable impact on it,
Yep,
so
absolutely.
that's great.
Okay, awesome.
It's much more than high school, for sure.
And so, before we like finish with the goals, the one goal that's not quantified in either place, either in the equity audit or here, because it was pulled out of the audit, is diversifying the workforce and the fact that our teachers don't represent our students. And that was because it was pulled back from the scope of the audit, and this committee was actually charged with that. And so it's not listed anywhere in the audit as a goal, but it is like identified as a goal. So I just wanted to like throw out like a brainstorm about like as we move forward into this year, like what does this group want to focus on as like its main goals? Like, do we wanna try to finish the priority recommendations? Do we wanna focus on, the workforce? Is there something else that like has been identified over the past year that people think, oh, this is an area where we definitely like need to do better? And then since it's September and we're heading into like budget season, like what resources might we need to be like requesting from the school committee in order to do that? So just throwing that out there.
They're all really good questions.
And I don't need an answer today,
Yeah.
like, but just, food for
Well,
thought.
no, yeah, but it's getting
Yeah.
the your brain moving, cause it's like, when it comes, especially the resource question, when we look into how we are planning ahead, you know what I mean, and using the budget process to kind of align to what we need.
Yeah, can I?
Yeah.
So, at the previous charter school I used to work at in Providence, where there were like lots of things to be desired in a lot of categories, but they had an incredible dual enrollment program.
Mm-hmm.
And so juniors and seniors would take college courses, which is like the best indicator for their post-secondary success if they have like what is essentially practice, right?
Mhm.
Low stakes, we're out of high school, and they were kind of blessed with their location right in downtown Providence. They would just like walk to Johnson and Wales, take a class, walk to the Providence campus of URI, take a class, and then go back to the high school and finish their day, which is like probably not something that we're blessed with in North Kingstown. But talking about resources for dual enrollment, what that might look like, one of my really, really good friends, spent her last Wednesday purchasing art supplies for a student who was taking drawing 1, and like purchasing the supplies for that student, letting the student know, like, this is what it costs, we're gonna cover it for you, but in future, if you wanna continue to take art classes, it costs $300 to go to Jerry's Art and get supplies. So thinking about, like, if we're talking about a truly equitable vision of what AP classes, dual enrollment, taking college classes might look like, it might look like purchasing books, you know, for these kids. It might look like going out and buying art supplies, and like having the manpower to go and do that work, in terms of setting them up for the best success, where they might not be like prepared, which I wasn't, to be like, oh, go buy your books. What does that even mean? Go buy my books. Like, go buy your books, because it's a very different experience from high school. They, not, of course, you're working with this group. They sound really great. Dual enrollment is happening around the state, and from my experience, it's a really big part of it is supporting them with like physical materials, and like, how will you get from here to there? Like, if you need to take an online course, what does that internet access look like? Where will you work? And helping them to work through these questions. If we're serious about increasing access, it has a lot to do with like logistics in my experience. So like putting in place the manpower and resources, physical money, dollar bills to like make that happen for these students is like big part of it. So that's just, that's just my experience in the dual enrollment world, and it's essential to creating success after high school.
Right. And when you say dual enrollment, just so we make sure, you're talking about enrolled in a college course while in high school.
Yep. So they'll take like 3 to 6 credits a semester in their senior year usually.
Yep.
So they will obviously not be taking classes in high school while they're doing that.
Right.
Like, they're sort of subbing out.
Yep. Yeah. It's definitely a worthy goal. Definitely. And I always like to say, like, the more options we can put on the menu, the better. Dual enrollment's a great option. There's also, things like concurrent enrollment. If we can offer kids college credit just taking a class at North Kingstown, that's a great thing too. And we can do that in some cases. If we can offer classes that align with students getting industry standard work credentials, or experience with internships, those are great opportunities too. And it's always good to present kids with those tangible options. Because I found in my experience that kids really respond really well to that. When you can show them, like, this is an option that you have and here's what it'll lead you to, they're really good at making choices based on what they're interested in,
Some solutions may just be really simple, of just like lifting some waiver policies.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Some of them are really that.
Yeah.
Coming from middle school or even just at high school.
Yeah.
Because everything goes by teacher recommendation. And so, unless there's someone's advocating for them, it's not, that's a big one.
Yeah. That, I think, Jackie, your point is right on in terms of making sure that we are being very intentional and overt about communication, so they know what the options are. Because we found that, like, a lot of times kids who are underserved kids traditionally don't have access to that information.
Yeah, and to your point, at this charter school, it's fully culture. So like, you are expected to take a dual enrollment class in your senior year, first semester. Everyone's doing it, not just you. Everyone's doing it, and that's like an intentional culture building. But significantly, the difference between, I love all the options. The options are great. There is a significant difference between a college class owned by that college versus like an AP class or a class that's owned by the high school. The standards are going to be different. The cost is going to be different. The expectations of time you spend, grading policies, all of that is going to be different. So I think naming that as, if we're trying to build a culture of you're going to go to college, it looks different. It looks different than high school world. So yeah, making sure that we are offering it to everyone who wants it, not just kids who are signed off by their teachers, right? I think that's huge in
That
terms
is
of
big.
policy building. And then also in terms of just the different levels of expectation to create success for students who may not historically have gone to college in their family. They might be first to go to college in their family. And they don't have that culture built into their knowledge and their parental advocates, right? So so it's a task.
And even like you said, like you have to buy art supplies. Like I know like agencies like Tri-County Community Action and things like that, they're fabulous with things like that. And I realize that's not really what we do, but like they shouldn't, like they do that when they're helping them get their GED and things like that. Like we could, if we decided that was a priority, provide that support here, like, and be like, this is what it looks like to do these things, and these are like, this is how you do it, like for the students that need it, right? And it does help to have somebody sit you down and say like, you have to buy books, this is what it looks like, and you have to, these are supplies, and it does make a difference.
Yeah, great idea.
So Jen, was the question to, so obviously we have, some of these things are in progress, and then some are more in progress than others, and so what would success look like for you as far as the goals and where we want to be in June? Is that what we're trying to identify as there's some of these are massive, right? And then some of them are a little bit less massive, and we're kind of in different places with them. So what would your goal be for as how specific, I guess, do you want the committee to be on hey, we're working towards this goal? Because I think first we need to identify where we're focused, and then we need to figure out kind of how that work gets done, because some things are very administrative, but then some things could be done at a committee level. Some things might need to be tossed to the school committee and delegated elsewhere. So kind of, what are your thoughts on how to move some of this forward?
I mean, I think I'd like us to identify 3 to 5 things that we want to have accomplished, or at least pretty solidly moving by the time we get to the end of the school year.
In June, we will be able to say this, this, and this are done.
Yep.
Do people see things that?
And not necessarily because this is a new group, things have changed. We identified these a year and a half, 2 years ago. So it doesn't necessarily have to be these 3 things, because some of these are gonna have come off, right? But just so that we can have a plan for what we're working towards this year. And it might be worthwhile sharing the same file because there's other things on here that have not even been worked on, and just having the group, not a full scale review, but just somebody might look at it and be like, oh yeah, item number 22, I think that's worth pursuing.
I think we have to finish some stuff though, and I know the group's changed, but the body has not.
Yes.
I think you have to honor the work that the
That's
previous
true.
committee did, and we can build on that, but I also think being really intentional about finishing the things identified are really important. And also advertising that. So when I'm looking at increased opportunities for student voice, okay, so we kind of know we've done that a little bit, but can we quantify it? We've added students to the following committees.
Yeah.
We've held listening sessions for the equity vision audit. Kind of really outlining that both publicly on our website, and then also for the committee to really be okay, is that enough? What else do we need to do in that area? That one is so big to me. There's so many opportunities that I don't know if we want to pick within that bucket maybe 2 or 3 things more this year that we okay, we know we did some things, but to me that's not crossed off. What else does this committee think would be helpful in trying to get us towards that work that we could add? I don't know. So
that one in particular, I guess I've honed in on that, having a completely nonverbal child. How do you capture the voices of those students who are nonverbal or severely disabled? My experience, it would be the parent.
Right.
So how is that happening? And then the other thought is, could that be an opportunity to maybe engage more with PPD special education in identifying parents? So that would be my thought on that, because they just their voice comes from somebody
Yep.
else.
Yep.
But there may also, but it's also not to just diminish, there may be students who can speak up, but might not necessarily, like, have that, confidence to do that.
So if I can just throw, we haven't done this yet, but we are piloting an education class this year to build an education pathway for students. And one of the things they're doing is they're peer partners. Those are the students that always choose to do peer partners work. So in semester 1, they're getting the education class content where they don't have the special ed students paired up yet. And then in semester 2, they're gonna be working with those students, kind of almost implementing the skills they have learned about teaching and learning. And that might be a perfect class where things that we want to hear from the students, the peer partners would work with the students to collect that information from them, because they have mechanisms, so they are paired up together. So if there's a nonverbal student working with a high school peer partner, that's what they are learning. They're literally learning how to continue teaching and learning for the student, right? So this would be a very good fit, and this would be good material for to send to that class and that instructor.
So this is, and that would be just at the high school level, you're saying?
Yes, that
Okay.
is at the high school, but actually, like, right now, it's a pilot, so this is our first year doing this, but their intention is to work as a part of their experience to visit the middle schools, work with the elementary. We haven't gotten that far, but that's part of their, and that's what's gonna give them the work-based learning experience that they need as a part of their program, and they have to come up with 80 hours of this type of work.
Okay, and what's the name of the program again?
It's education, so it's an education pathway.
Okay,
We haven't launched the official pathway, because we wanna just launch the first course and see how it goes. But what I see is there is curriculum material that is being built, and so this could very well fit right in there where the middle school and elementary school students can be part of this.
I'm just gonna say, I think that the student voice piece, personally, this is just me, I think it's a great topic to be a part of this group, to be a real central part of this group, in the coming year. That's my personal feeling, and the reason I say that is because I think we did make some nice strides last year, we did some things, I know, we did make attempts to be more explicit about getting student voice, but I still do think we have work to do, and I think this group could actually have some really good conversations around that, around, maybe the things we're doing well, and maybe the things where we could do better, you know? Cause I know that, just speaking, you know, personally, I love hearing from students. Every time I do hear from students, I'm like, I feel like great. I feel like I'm like lifted up, like, oh my gosh, like they have such great ideas. They bring such great thoughts forward. And they often think of things that we don't even think of, you know? But sometimes it just gets lost in the shuffle, obviously, of what we do. So I personally think that would be a great topic to really serve as a central focus here.
I like the surveys that we did, especially with the statement we made when we got all the feedback from it, because looking at the responses, you really got to see like what students thought, and like as a student, I saw other people respond to it well, like being able to speak their minds about certain topics, especially when it came to DEI. So I think like more surveys like that would help to get the student voice out there and have like more of a response from people.
I do think too with surveys, especially with students, like the shorter the better, like and frequent the better. Like so I think, you know, like instead of sending out ones that have 10 questions on it, you send, like I think that Equity Vision one was a good example. It had one very clear purpose. And so maybe think if the committee identified some things that we wanted more student voice on, maybe sending out like little mini surveys might be an effective thing. And also not just, you know, trying to think about too, like the different age levels as well, like for not just high school, but maybe some ways to collect some middle school and elementary school data too. Because I did think, I agree with you, William, that they gave us stuff and that was cool, and I don't think they would have said that. Like, I think it was because it was in a safe
Mhm.
place and way for them to do.
Yeah, it definitely helps for it to be anonymous versus like sending your email with what you said to whoever, because it feels much safer for students to do that.
And I'm also gonna bring this up because I bring it up a lot, but I'm gonna do it again. This can really be woven in nicely with our vision of the graduate work. Because when we talk about what we're gonna be doing with that work, we're gonna be moving towards identifying really our transferable essential skills that go beyond content and transcend all classes that students are gonna leave with. And the way to measure those is not through a traditional paper and pencil test, it's through performance-based assessments, you know, which by their very definition incorporate student voice into them, you know what I mean? So I'm just throwing that out there. It's all, I think there's a lot we can do to like weave in some of those like real skills that we're gonna focus on into this.
Yeah.
You know.
As we're sitting here too, I'm thinking about, like one way that we hear student voice is through their democracy projects and then through, their senior projects at the high school level at least. And I was just trying to think about how the administration and the school committee could do like a feedback loop on that, you know, like of like, cause things don't move fast always, but that doesn't mean that we don't hear or see them or prioritize what they're saying. But like, if I was a junior in high school, I did my democracy project, I might not see it in my senior year. Like it might not happen that fast, and then I'm gone. And did they hear me? Did they see me? Did they care? And like I think we do. And so thinking about some sort of way to give a status update on those to students or something so that they know that their voice is being heard, even if they're not seeing instantaneous action.
The
I
other
think
thing
that's a
with
hard
those
part.
is like the same one, like the ones that we see the same topic
Yeah.
by multiple students year after year, like that to me says there's a need that's not being
Yeah, there's a
met,
theme,
right?
yeah.
And so like addressing that
Mhm.
or identifying that for somebody to look into it, you know?
Oh, yeah. I saw some repeat topics for sure,
Yeah,
you know, just having looked at it last year,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, there's some like that have been
Oh, yeah.
lingering.
Mhm.
Well, there's some that are hard, and so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, obviously some are big, but there are some that are
Yeah,
cough water bottles,
yep.
so.
Water bottle start times,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah,
We hear about that a lot.
Okay, one of those is easy,
Yeah,
one of
Yeah.
those is not easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, but I think, and again, it's not that we do every single thing that a student says or that we can do it right away, but some sort of thing of saying like,
Acknowledge it.
yeah, we acknowledge it, we know this is on the list,
Yeah.
this is where it is in the world of the whatever, right? It's at a committee being looked at, the administration has it on a list for maybe a priority for next year. Like it does it, just something to acknowledge that we heard them in a tangible way, not just like, okay, we heard you, like really significantly putting where it is in the process.
Okay, does anybody think that we should not focus on student voice this year?
Okay. Well, now that you bring it up. No.
As a student, William, you're really that.
Less students, fewer students.
Okay.
Can I, this discussion is bringing up one more thing for me about like vision of the graduate, about dual enrollment, about sort of these things. We have to reframe, I just wanna say this because I have you in the room, aren't I lucky? We have to reframe like failure and what it looks like sometimes for kids when we're pushing these new initiatives and when we're pushing like something like vision of the graduate and what are the skills we're pushing forward. We have to reframe what failure is, right? So like perhaps you did not meet the goal of your dual enrollment class or your college course, maybe you failed, but then we have to put in this like safety net of like, okay, well what have we learned, right? And turn that into the learning process. But when, you know, every time someone says vision of the graduate to me, I kind of go like, what does that mean? Because all of those skills come so often from failure.
Yep.
Right? So I just want to like name that as we're talking about the different logistics and supporting kids. We also have to support them through this process of like maybe not hitting goals for themselves, either in a college course or in a high school course, and making that part of the process. And for teachers as well, because we are so conditioned to, well, did the kid pass? Like, did they fail? What does that look like? How did you quantify it? What are the measurements? What's the rubric, right? And so much of these rubrics and these new skills are maybe less quantifiable.
Yeah.
Right? So I just want to name that as we're putting this together because it's the learning curve is hard.
Yeah, and so you're, now we're starting to bleed over into the grading policy
Sorry,
talk.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's good, I like it, because again, these are topics we're gonna be talking about. You know, we talked about that policy being up for revision this year, we're trying to grab, you know, members of our school community to be part of that conversation. That's all woven together, you know, because the way we grade contributes to exactly what you're talking about, because, you know, it's the nature of school, it's the business of what we do, that's what we do, right, is students get grades, and to what extent are those practices contributing to what we're trying to get them to, or detracting from,
Right.
you know? So these are really, obviously hard problems, you know what I mean, but they're good conversation pieces, you know? So I look forward to it, I do, I think it's hard, but it's worth it, you know, when you look at like what we want kids to come away with, it's those skills that are the most important.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's really most important. Failure's good, you know what I mean? It is. Failure means you tried, and failure means you learned something,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. You know, just thinking about what failure looks like in my day too, because, you know, one of my colleagues, Sandra Mikowski, Teacher of the Year, 2018, does so much like project-based learning in her class, and so like we talk a lot about, she and I, about like what does success look like in a project-based setting, but then from a teacher perspective, right, what does success look like for her? Like, I had a lot of kids fighting in my class today, they were like arguing with one another, like it sounds loud, it sounds maybe sometimes out of control, it sounds like the emotions get heated, and like that leads to like other problems, it makes teachers uncomfortable. To like relinquish some control, so that students can like create their own project stuff, whatever they do. So I'm just like, in terms of professional development, if we're serious about like what the layering in of these different skills might look like and what teachers will need to feel supported, it has to do with like what does that classroom setting look like, how are we backed up by administrators, like what are the norms. I mean, it's work.
This sounds a lot like what we talked about the last couple of days,
Yeah.
and then not
Yeah.
to, like it really does. It sounds like a lot of what you're saying is exactly what we've talked about. Is like, you know, the idea of risk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The idea of like, will I be supported in taking this risk? What if it doesn't go well? What's going to happen?
Right.
And that's got to be encouraged, you know, because when you look at some of the practices that we know are good practices, they aren't what we've traditionally done.
Yeah, they aren't sit in rows and sit quietly.
Correct.
Right? They're not. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and one of they presented a lot of research to us, and it was a lot of information, but one of the things the teachers were really looking at, saying that they talked about all the different tracks, and how they talked about how high expectations has to be for all students. So if you think about tracks, we're doing the opposite. And so the teachers were like, they understood that, but they had questions. So how do we teach? If they're blended, how do I teach? And those were good questions, but the research supported that because you put students in tracks does not lead to achievement. It doesn't. So really what we're doing is we are servicing the kids that are at level, but really we're just not. I mean, I know we are, we think we are, but there's no achievement that's happening. In fact, that they presented the research that showed if you put them in regular setting, if you expose them to honors classes and higher level, they do actually make gains. So it was very difficult to absorb all them, because they generated questions, but they were genuinely, the teachers were like, we don't wanna do something that's not actually helping kids.
Right, totally.
But we have
Right.
questions.
Yeah. It really is interesting when you see research around learning, research around achievement, research around, again, just student well-being and empowerment. It does run oftentimes very differently than the way we do school.
Yep.
And there's reasons for that, we all know, you know what I mean, there's logistical things, there's realities that we face, you know, and we won't get
And
into all
like
that now.
system-centered, not like
Yeah.
teacher-centered necessarily, you know,
Right.
just like
It is.
what school is, you know?
Exactly,
Right, yeah.
exactly, so.
Right.
But these are good conversations, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? These are good conversations, these are the things you wanna be talking about.
One of the things on the list, Jen, was, learning sessions for students, did we, in the PD section, it says mandatory professional developments for administrators and teachers as well as learning sessions for students.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Where are you right now, Erin? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just looking at like what we had or hadn't achieved, and it's top 5 impact, number 6. It's about PD. It's like basically it seems like it's saying like equity PD for students or like some sort of
I think
education.
I think it was learning sessions for students. I feel like that was like educating students about why things are bad, like why you shouldn't do, like educating them around why behaviors or certain behaviors are not good, I think. I believe that's what that
Yeah, it's
was.
professional development for students
Yeah.
about being inclusive and
Yeah, I think that's what that was.
Yes.
I'm trying to
but we
find
haven't. I don't believe we have anything
it. No, we have
big
not.
that got.
No.
That's an area that we have
Yes,
not.
we have not
focused
done
on.
that. That is correct. And that kind of ties into the other thing that we've been talking about, you know, with the policy we've been trying to implement around education, around why, you know, with the hate motivated behavior and educating in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Just trying to dig up that, because that was verbatim from the audit. I'm just trying to find that one particular spot.
My assumption is it's just a different way to say professional development because it's not professional development because it's different. Like
'Cause it's for
like,
students,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Learning
that's
sessions,
yeah,
we call it.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yep.
PD for kids and PD for students.
PD for kids. It's fine, I send them to school all day, it's fine, we can call it something different. It's okay.
Yeah, I think that's what that was.
Also looking at this list, I was thinking about how these two how the temporary advisory committee and this committee may in the future have an opportunity for like a cross discussion because these were obviously things that came out of the equity audit. We were also, we felt as though it needed some attention by its own committee, but also I think making sure that that committee is aware of the piece of how it got, you know, like I think there is a possibility that you could do a joint, so we'd have to figure it out, but like a joint meeting of those or some sort of like, hey, this is what we're working on, have them, like that I think definitely needs to have some overlap.
Crossover episode,
Yeah.
you know, right now we're all together. In the same space.
The other thing, and this is kind of, but not related, to the academic support, is looking at, the offerings between the 2 middle schools and in terms of like after school and things like that, and are they, you know, are the 2 schools offering the same types of things in terms of after school activities and things like that, cause it didn't appear to be last year, and so are those equitable, like in terms of what the students are having access to?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a good
And same thing at the elementary school level.
Mhm.
And recognizing that one's a little bit different because that's more like PTO and like the other one is more school, but I think that's important too. And I do think that was touched on in the audit somewhere about
Mhm.
opportunities for students outside of academics.
Yep.
So that's just, so I don't know if people wanna think on that and we can come back and discuss it at the next one.
You share that document?
Yes, I will share that,
Okay,
yep.
thank you.
And then if we wanna go over the vision statement, Ron?
Sure, let me try to locate it here. Alright, so I hope it's okay. I took the liberty of choosing the last 3 options that we got to last time and sharing those out. We had
Figuring it
18,
down.
so I didn't wanna share all 18. So the last 3 we had here were, what I shared here on this document, out with you all, and I also shared it with our district our administrative team. There didn't seem to be many comments.
I wasn't sure whether there was space to comment, but, like, I didn't wanna like comment in the doc, but
Yeah.
I like number 18 the best.
Okay,
I'll say that.
okay. You wanna talk more about that?
I like the way that we like defined all at the start because it didn't feel parenthetical, nor did it feel like an afterthought, and yet it still felt somewhat outside like the statement. And so to me, it was kind of clean. This is what all means when we say all, great, and then we talked about what we wanted to do. And so I thought that the structure was nice for me.
Having been gone for a couple months, I really appreciated number 16, the first one, and how clean it became from our initial takes on it. I thought it read much clearer. And I do appreciate the definition of it, but for me personally, I liked it below just because I felt it disrupted the main, the first statement's very powerful in my view.
I thought you were gonna say you were grateful you didn't have to sit through 18 iterations.
Yeah, I mean, that too, that too.
Okay, to my credit, there were some that were just like changing a sentence. Like it wasn't like 18
You were on fire.
completely nuanced.
You were on
It was
fire.
just preserving our work.
No,
Copy
it was
and
good.
pasting
It was
like
just
crazy.
building. It helps you know where you came from.
Also, it was funny though. Very funny. Yes.
It was good, it was all good.
I like 18 also.
Yeah, I like 18, but just a thought, would we still put the thing that Mr. Aubin suggested, where it's like if you don't see your certain, like, whatever called out in the, for,
Yeah,
I don't know how to,
I could be
Yeah,
wrong
yeah,
on this,
you're
but
right.
I,
Yeah, we remember.
I remembered that we were a little bit, I kind of thought we kind of didn't move forward on that because we were concerned that like the way it would be worded and also the potential for it to be,
I think I remember it slightly different. I think
Yeah.
where we had landed, and correct me if I'm remembering not quite, is that we thought maybe not putting it in the actual statement, but then on the website or on wherever it might
just putting it
live.
at a different place.
Yeah, providing that like, hey, if you have feedback on this, or you know, there's identity that you think should be included, reach out to the DEI chair.
And
you
it's
know,
a link to Dave's email, I
Yeah.
believe, right? Was what we decided.
yeah,
Along with the
100%. We were
questions.
gonna send it to
Yes.
Mr. Albin directly.
Write
and
that
he
in the
could-
minutes,
I
please.
But no, but so I think that's where my brain remembers where
Yeah.
we landed.
That's
But
how I
I
remember
could,
it too, yeah.
but we could also open that conversation,
Yeah.
William, if you wanted to.
I'm fine with anything. I like the idea, but I can understand why it might.
Yeah, that's how I remembered it too, or in like the communication that we put out, like about like what this is and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Rob, when you said there was no feedback, was it like a stunned silence, no feedback, or was it a like?
Perfect.
So
we're
I
done.
asked the group to comment on the document because we had discussed it as a group like openly already, and I know that we had a very full agenda that meeting, and I invited them to comment on the document, and so that was it. So I mean, my feeling is, and this is just me, I do like 16. I like it because to me the statement is what comes first. I've always felt like the statement is what is the message to be read first, and I think that the groups listed below are important, but I like the order. I just personally like the order of the statement and the groups. That's my personal feeling.
And I know that last time when you would come after the feedback, that there was concern, you know, about listing things, and like, so we kind of reworked it and pulled it out because of that. And so were they not like?
Yeah.
Did they recognize that we had kind of reworked it in light of that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, they did. And yeah, that was just that was the feedback we got the first time. The feedback we got the first time was that there was and that again led to the conversation, was just that we wanted to make sure the message of the statement was
Didn't
heard.
get lost. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like 17.
I was just gonna say.
Okay, so, and this is why it has the statement, and then right below that it describes what all is. So, because I found with 16, with it being at the bottom, I just find in general oftentimes when I'm looking at something and there's an asterisk, it's almost like an afterthought.
Mhm.
And then with 18, I do like the all, like, I think it's important that it be at the beginning, but I wonder if people will read that, it's almost like it's coming before it needs to. So that's why I thought 17, like right away they're saying, okay, all, in all caps, and then it's defined in that second paragraph.
So just to clarify for my brain, 17 is when it's kind of in the middle, like it's incorporated in, right? 16
At the
is
end.
Yep.
at the, sorry,
Asterisk
16 is
italics
at the end,
Yeah,
and 18 is at the beginning.
beginning.
Yep.
Thank you. I just wanted to like, as we're scrolling, I just wanted to be like, okay, which one's which, so I don't misspeak on which
And
one
other
I
than
like or
that,
don't
they
like.
say the exact same thing,
Yeah,
correct? It's just,
I'm so happy
It's
with
just
any
the
of them,
order.
just pick one, I don't, it's
Yeah.
great, I love all of them, they're great.
To argue in favor of 16 again, because I was not in favor before of the all being described, I think it allows less criticism if you don't feel like you belong. They're all encompasses, basically everyone, so it's harder to not feel included with that, right? So putting that in the front is nice, so that that's in a very nice opening right there. It talks about all belonging.
so you're saying like if I don't see myself in the asterisk part, the blurb itself says all, so I'm all,
Yes.
regardless, I see what you're saying.
Mm.
I showed elementary kids.
Did you? What'd
Yes.
they say?
Oh.
It's just 2 words. So not to rewrite the whole thing, it's very, very good. The elementary kids did not like 2 words. What do you think,
I'm
Rob?
so
You
interested,
wanna
wait, can you
guess?
tell me about your focus group, can you tell me about the situation?
Okay,
What
the
did you
N
do?
was small, and it was not my children, but it was somebody else's children. But I said, hey, can you just have your kids read this and let me know what you think? And so they did it. There was 2 words that were really confusing to them. I mean, they had, obviously the list of things was not, those would have needed a lot of definition for them, but in the actual body of it.
One of the words I'm guessing is disparities. No?
Yes.
They are- Okay.
And that's when I think maybe we could pick a simpler word.
Mhm.
The other one that was really confusing was fostering,
Mhm.
because they thought it meant fostering people or fostering puppies. And they were like, are we getting puppies? And I was like, there's no puppies.
Yes, we are.
And that's another one that I think we could find a very simple synonym to swap out. So fostering and disparities were the 2 that like the other words that were harder or maybe above grade level, they could figure it out like
Mhm.
through context clues, like equitable, does that mean equal? Like they went through it like that, but those
Mhm.
2, it was absolutely hard for them to
Yes.
figure out. So I just wanted to give that
Address. Oh, here we go.
feedback. Fostering
What else I would
and
say
disparities.
for the
Did they
disparities.
understand? Did they seem to like actually
Oh
understand?
yeah, no, they got it. Yeah, they were saying things like inclusive
Good word.
equals, or
Precise.
equitable
Yeah.
equals equal, like empowered equals power. Like they kind of understood, and then at the very end they said, I feel North Kingstown wants everyone to feel safe after they heard the
Aw.
statement.
That's really nice.
That's
Yeah.
really nice.
Second graders. So
So good.
I would recommend those 2 words, just switching out for a simpler word, because I don't think we would lose anything if we got rid of disparities or fostering. I think we could find simpler words
Okay,
to.
so we commit to developing policies, practices, and partnerships that address disparities. What can we use instead?
Inequity, I mean, it's
Kind
kind
of
of
bring that
used,
equal
but
word back.
I didn't get that far, sorry.
Yeah, inequities, I feel like we're doing fine.
Where is it? Oh, addressing. Synonyms.
So it'd be to address inequities,
Encourage empathy and kindness, right?
encourage empathy and kindness.
Yeah. Perfect.
We're doing version
And we haven't used the word
19, right?
encourage yet, I just.
Promote
control F.
empathy and kindness.
Encourage, promote, yeah, encourage, promote.
What's
We're doing version 19.
Create.
Erin, you're,
No, I think you could put, whichever one we pick, we can just do it on.
okay, you sure?
Wait, should we pick one? Should we pick one, guys? Can we commit to one? Should we pick one?
We should pick one,
Well-
then
Vote
change
on
it.
Who feels the strongest? Yes, and we think we should. Who feels the strongest? Who's gonna fight for one? You 16? Are you fighting for 16?
I really like 16.
I'm behind you. Let's do it. 16. Let's do it. 16?
I like
flip to
16.
16.
Yeah, and if we wanna change it
Yeah.
in a year, guys, we can, let's just keep it at 16.
Oh, wait, is the plan to take this
Just wanna be
statement,
done.
'cause just to your point, like incorporating the feedback of elementary students, is this going to be in all of the schools so that when the elementary school kids walk in, they will see it?
Well, so that's part of the plan. If you look at the master, in that doc that we had previously, one of the goals is to create an equity communication plan to develop these key messages to get out, to share the vision. So I think that's one of the things that this committee is gonna work on once we have
Correct.
this, the recommendation would go to the school committee would adopt it, and then this group could kind of work forward that communication plan of how it would be good to get out, how do we get this to students and things. So I don't think that part's been decided, but that could be part of the strategy.
I absolutely agree. I think that would be also another good topic for this group to really
Yeah,
focus on this
recommendations
year.
on how to.
Is communication and how we're making it a living part, you know.
Cause
Yeah.
like this would be like the underpinning for like everything we do in the district, like is underlaid by
Mhm.
this,
Or working towards the vision.
Mhm.
working towards the vision.
They even knew what vision was. That was cool. I was like, what's vision mean? And I thought they were gonna say like eyesight, and they were like, oh, it means what we hope to be. And I was like, where did you learn that?
What we hope
I was like, you little
Really?
cutie patooties.
That's
Yeah, they're
smart little
smart,
kids.
those
Impressive.
North Kingstown students.
Very
Quit
impressive.
Acid Elementary,
Very
we're rocking
impressive.
it.
That's awesome.
You have
All
another
right.
test subject here too.
Oh yeah, right?
Yeah.
You
So
wanna
I'm
give us
gonna-
feedback?
I'm,
Yeah, so I'm fine with 16. I actually like all three. Neither, I don't have a huge preference for any. My eyes like 16 because you read the statement, and then like for me, if I'm reading something and I don't know what the asterisk is, like I'll glance down quick and then I'll come right back up. So I like the statement being centered. But like if the group had all liked the other options, none of them bother me.
Here, like, motion to approve number 16. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can I get some ayes?
You have to have discussion first
Yeah.
on your motion.
And
Discussion
discussion,
first.
Mary,
Any
are you like
discussion?
sold
Any
on
more
that?
discussion?
You also
Wait,
probably
you know
should
what?
do your
It's-
2
I
words.
think we're-
Can you
I
flip
think-
to
yes.
16?
Yeah,
Okay.
if we're
Like-
trying to reach
like
consensus,
if you
I
wanna
think
make
we
Hold
can-
on,
Alright,
hold
well,
on.
from
We
there,
haven't
like,
done the
within
word
number
yet.
16, we're editing, right? So I just wanted to see
Yeah,
which
so
one we
you're
were editing.
editing 16.
Motion to approve editing of 16.
Second?
It's like, wait.
I think
I can't
I
believe
appreciate
they're
you
not
trying to
doing
move us
option
forward.
19.
I'm trying to. No, we're gonna get it done
Courage?
today.
Do we wanna say encourage? Is that all right?
Yeah, great. Promote, encourage, great. I love it.
Oh, we used foster
What
twice.
is, oh, we did.
Oh, that's
we did.
terrible.
Yeah, it's
I
up at
hate
the
that.
top.
That's bad.
Oh, interesting.
See it?
Oh, that's right.
Promote it
Whoa,
for
we gotta change it
We
in both
have to change
spots.
foster.
Okay, so let's go here.
Encourage.
I think
So
we
one
should
can be
edit it
promoting.
first before we.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are, don't worry.
Wait, one can be promoting and one can be encouraged.
I'd say the
Promoting-
first one should be promoting.
Yes.
I agree with that.
You're dedicated to promoting.
I mean, did I mess up the whole thing by submitting it too early? I'm so sorry. I'm so
No,
bad.
you're
It
okay.
wasn't real
You're
enemies.
okay. You're okay.
No, we're
We
in
are
discussion,
dedicated
yeah.
to.
Promoting.
Promoting.
Hold on, I'm googling what promoting means. Further the progress of.
Yes.
We are dedicated to furthering the
Encourage.
progress of and include. Yeah, okay, that works.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
advance.
Do you know what promoting means?
Yes, you do.
Dedicated
Think about
to-
it.
I don't think I don't know.
They might think like
I don't think-
promotion to another
Yeah.
grade, maybe?
Yeah,
Mm.
I don't think that would hit for me.
You don't know?
Even so, though. Even so.
Hold on, we can
Preserving? No, that's not.
encourage, advance. We are
Advancing.
dedicated to advancing and
inclusive.
inclusive and equitable.
I like advancing.
What about advancing? Do you know what advance means?
Creating?
No?
Mm.
Kinda?
Mm-hmm.
Did we already say creating?
Okay, we're getting closer.
We're back to crafting.
I like creating.
Creating.
Did we do creating anywhere else? And like we're not,
I don't think so.
Okay, so
Creating.
advancing means move forward in a purposeful way. Creating means
I like creating.
bringing into existence.
Yeah, I like
Ah,
that.
we're in
Yeah.
the middle. So I feel like it already, like, we have seeds, right? We're just.
Yeah, like
growing
I feel like
seeds.
creating is when there's nothing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Like advancing means we're gonna make it better.
yeah, I agree.
I kind of agree with that too. I kind of like advancing.
Advancing?
Because I feel like we're not, creating is like something that's out of nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Mm.
And our audience member knew what advancing was.
She did, right away.
Right away.
Sure.
I got an affirmative quick.
Okay, So let's go. We are dedicated to advancing an inclusive and equitable educational environment that celebrates diversity, embraces individual strengths, and ensures that all are empowered to reach their full potential.
She wouldn't have to.
We commit to developing policies, practices, and partnerships that address inequities.
Do you know what inequities means? No, yeah, hold on.
I like inequities, because I think at the last meeting, Mr. Messinardi, he said something about, what was it, whoever we submitted it to, they said they didn't wanna lose the, like, whole purpose of the statement, which was equity.
Right.
So if you put inequity, it would help.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Policies, practices, and partnerships.
Speak up more often.
Equitable, well, we say equitable up top. I agree with you.
But they liked the word equitable, right? They knew what that meant. So we're addressing
Yeah, that one's
that
fine.
and like the
Yeah, they
opposite
could
of that.
probably, yeah, lack of fairness or justice. Like inequities means lack of fairness or justice. To address inequities,
Courage, empathy, and kindness.
courage.
Just closer.
We're missing our reader today.
Oh my gosh, she was such a good reader.
I
Believe me, you want to try?
Sounds
She had a
stupid
radio
about it.
voice.
That was seriously an unexpected turn.
So
One of the students has like a unbelievable like audiobook reading voice, and we were like just read it. We were like read it, and we were all like, what?
It's so good. Like,
So
it's
good.
Amazing.
All right, so you want to just do a little run here?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. In the North Kingstown schools, we envision a learning community where all belong. We are dedicated to advancing an inclusive and equitable educational environment that celebrates diversity, embraces individual strengths, and ensures that all are empowered to reach their full potential. We commit to developing policies, practices, and partnerships to address inequities, encourage empathy and kindness, and build a culture of belonging to ensure all in our community thrives academically, socially, and emotionally.
I think that's good.
I think it's pretty good.
I think
But now you have to read the star. This is where we got caught up last time, just so you know.
Sorry.
Because she didn't read the star, and we're like, should you read the star? We need to read the star. So read the star.
All encompasses races, ethnicities, languages, religions, socioeconomic status, genders, gender identities or expressions, countries of ancestral origin, sexual orientations, interrupted education status, disabilities, or backgrounds.
Mhm.
Do you need a motion to
Jackie, you wanna make it again?
Yes, I motion to approve it.
Okay, I will second it.
Discussion?
I think it's great.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
Look at us.
Okay, so
Amazing.
now what happens?
So that will go to, we
the
can put it on
school
the agenda, the agenda isn't locked yet, so with Dr. Duva's, approval, we could get the recommendation from the committee on the school committee meeting that will be on Tuesday,
Mhm.
and they can adopt it or ask questions and send it back.
Okay.
So, the timing is fine for that, like, we can still get it on the next agenda for next week,
Have you guys seen Finding Nemo?
of course.
After the credits of Finding Nemo, where the fish actually get into the bags and they roll themselves across the street, they get, that's like us right now.
For the fish in the
And
bag.
they're like, now what? We're in the ocean, but we're in these plastic bags. Now what do we do? That's us.
I like that, that's a nice visual.
Now what do we do?
Okay. Okay, so, yay, good job.
We don't have to
That's us, Rob. This is us. You're in the ocean, but you're in a plastic bag. Now what do you do?
I love
Rob, someday you're gonna come in and there's just gonna be like a goldfish on your desk in a plastic bag. And you won't know who put it there.
I love it.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
we'll move forward then. We'll make we'll have this added to the agenda.
Mhm.
And,
I nominate you to add it to the agenda.
sorry?
No, I'll take care of it. I got it.
Okay. And so,
Um, yeah.
all right, we're right at the end.
Yeah, awesome. Next meeting, October 9th. It's
Yes.
it's the second week instead of the third week because something's weird, but, so it's October 9th.
October 9th is the next meeting, huh?
Yeah. There was a
The
reason
16th
for
there's
it when we
something.
set the calendar. I cannot remember
All right, it's
why.
fine.
Maybe it would be because of Indigenous Peoples' Day that week, I'm not sure, but
Okay.
it's October 9th.
9th it is.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Do we discuss that one? Discussion?
Nope.
Okay.